Have you ever wondered if there's a blueprint for a perfect society? Well, what if I told you an ancient chapter of Scripture holds exactly that? You see, Exodus 23 is so much more than just an old list of laws. It's a deep, loving design from God Himself for a community that can truly, genuinely flourish. It's His heart for His people, just laid right out for us to see. I mean, it's a question humanity has been asking forever, right? We've tried countless systems, all kinds of philosophies, trying to create that perfect community. But what Scripture offers is totally unique. It's a divine perspective, a plan that comes straight from the Creator. And that's exactly what we find right here. As the people of Israel are getting ready to enter the Promised Land, God gives them this incredibly detailed plan. And it's a plan that doesn't start with big, grand structures or governments. No, it starts with the very foundation, how we're supposed to treat each other. So this first part of the divine blueprint is all about our horizontal relationships. See, before a nation can really relate to God properly, its people have to relate to each other properly. And that whole relationship is built on this bedrock of integrity, of truth, and a really radical kind of compassion. This command, wow, it feels like it could have been written yesterday, doesn't it? It's a direct warning against mob mentality, against peer pressure. God is making it crystal clear. Truth isn't something we decide by a majority vote. We are called to stand for what is right, even if it means we have to stand completely alone. And here, the focus gets even sharper, zeroing in on just how important truth is. God commands His people to stay far away from any kind of falsehood, especially when someone's life or their reputation is on the line. It's this powerful declaration that God Himself is the one who defends the innocent and the righteous. You know, this is just such a wise and practical instruction against bribery. God knows our human nature. He knows that a bribe, or a so-called gift, doesn't just buy a favorable verdict. It completely corrupts the entire system. It literally blinds the eyes of even the wisest people and twists the words of those who should be speaking truth. Justice just cannot survive where bribery is allowed to exist. And this verse, this one brilliantly illustrates the very heart of God's law. This isn't just about, not hurting your enemy. This is about actively doing good for them. You see their lost animal, you are commanded to help them. This kind of mercy goes against every single one of our natural instincts. And it's a clear, unmistakable sign of a community that's being shaped by the character of God. So, when you pull all of this together, you get these core principles: a society that upholds truth no matter what, one that resists corruption, that defends the poor and the vulnerable, that shows mercy even to enemies, and makes sure there's impartial justice for everyone. This is the strong, stable foundation God designed for His people. Okay, so once that foundation of justice is laid, the blueprint moves from the horizontal, how we treat each other, to the vertical. It starts to address our relationship with God. Because a just society, in God's eyes, has to also be a worshipful society, with its entire rhythm of life aligned with its Creator. And right at the heart of this rhythm is the Sabbath. Now, this was never just about giving people a day off. No, it was a profound weekly declaration of trust in God. I mean, can you imagine the faith required to just stop? To trust that God's blessing on 6 days of work would be more than enough. It's a powerful statement against that anxiety of self-reliance, acknowledging that God, not our own nonstop effort, is our ultimate provider. God also built 3 huge nationwide gatherings right into their calendar. The Feast of Unleavened Bread was all about looking back, remembering their miraculous salvation from slavery in Egypt. Then, the Feasts of Harvest and Ingathering were about the present moment, celebrating and giving thanks for God's faithful provision from the land He gave them. You see, these festivals weren't just optional add-ons. They were the very heartbeat of the nation. They created this shared rhythm that constantly reoriented the people away from themselves and back towards God as their Redeemer, their provider, and the one who is truly worthy of all their worship. All right, now we come to the absolute climax of the chapter. After laying out this whole blueprint for justice and worship, God gives an absolutely incredible promise. He tells them exactly how they're going to be able to accomplish all of this and actually enter into their inheritance. This is a moment of just profound revelation. God doesn't just hand them a map and say, good luck. He promises to go with them. He sends a divine guide, an angel, to protect them on the path. and to lead them all the way into the land he has prepared for them. And you have to listen closely to this detail because it is stunning. God warns them to obey this angel because, he says, my name is in him. Now, in the ancient world, a name wasn't just a label. It was the person's essence, their authority, their very character. This angel isn't just a messenger. He is the embodiment of God's own presence and power, personally leading his people. So this presents Israel with a very, very clear choice. On one side, if they obey the voice of God's angel, they get his presence, his protection, his healing, and the promised land. But on the other side, if they compromise and make deals with the idolatrous nations around them, it will become a trap, a snare that leads to God's presence being withdrawn, and eventually their total ruin. The contrast just could not be more stark. So let's focus for a moment on that first path, the path of obedience. The blessings God promises here, they aren't vague or just spiritual. They're tangible, they're comprehensive, and they cover every single aspect of life. Just look at how complete this promise is. God promises divine protection. He promises supernatural provision for their food and water, divine health, long life, and the complete fulfillment of his promise for the land. He is promising to be their all-sufficient king, their warrior, and their provider if they will simply walk in his ways. Oh, and I love this detail. God tells them he won't drive out their enemies all at once, but little by little. And why? So the land doesn't become desolate and get overrun with wild animals before Israel is numerous enough to actually inhabit it. This just shows God's incredible practical wisdom. His timing is always perfect, and it's always designed for their ultimate good. And this really brings us to the core takeaway of this entire chapter. Loving God and loving our neighbor, or worship and justice, they are not two separate compartments of life. They are completely woven together. A society that truly honors God will be a society that pursues justice and truth and mercy for all of its people. So that leaves us with a final thought. These principles, they're timeless. Just imagine our families, our communities, our nations if we really committed to this divine blueprint. A world built on absolute truth, on radical mercy, on a rhythm of rest and gratitude, and a faithful walk with God. What would that even look like? It's a pretty powerful question to think about.